Wear a mask, keep your distance, wash your hands, sanitize. These instructions are constants in Kenya's and the world's new reality. Unfortunately, alongside the public health maxims in Kenya are questionable contracts.
The COVID-19 pandemic opened the floodgates for looting of funds allocated for medical supplies.
These were all fraudsters looting public money.
This building here has got its fair share of criminals.
There was one or two companies that were mentioned.
But this isn't the first time this has happened in Kenya's very recent history. Using data from Kenya's public procurement, Africa Uncensored can now tell the story of non-compete contracts that risk the public purse. In our continuing series, Captured, we now tell the story of the connection of these contracts to a sitting member of parliament and a network of companies that stood to benefit from public health tenders. The year was 2014. The Ebola pandemic was tearing through West Africa, and Kenya's government was preparing for the possibility that the virus could find its way to the country. Out of the crisis came a spike in non-compete contracts, particularly under the Ministry of Health. Behind these companies is a sitting member of parliament and her family.
It has not been business as usual at the Health Committee ever since it started a probe of the alleged Ministry of Health graft.
Signatures were solicited, minutes taken, and a resolution to move on with the procedure to remove Kitui South MP Rachel Nyamai.
Many of us have signed. In fact, when I signed that document, it was almost 20 members.
I have not seen the document which has been signed by the 20 members as it is alleged that I'm being removed.
Two companies linked to Kitui South Member of Parliament Rachel Kaki Nyamai were paid at least 24.2 million shillings to deliver medical supplies. One of these companies also had a mysterious agreement to supply 8 million bottles of hand sanitizer for 4.3 billion shillings. At the time, Nyamai was a sitting chair of the National Assembly's Health Committee. The two companies, Tira South Shore Holdings Limited and Ameken Mine West Company Limited, appear to have had no history of dealing in hygiene or medical supplies. Yet, they were awarded 3 blanket purchase agreements, usually reserved for trusted vendors who provide recurring supplies such as newspapers and tea, or services such as office cleaning.
You can't have blanket agreement for amounts which are higher, or things which must be controlled by each invoice. Yeah. So blanket agreement is something which should be exceptional, in my view.
The leaked data shows 2 transactions for Ameken Mine West for 6.9 million shillings each, a blanket purchase order for El Nino mitigation supplies, and a standard purchase order for the supply of chlorine tablets 8 days later. Tira South Shore also had 2 transactions of 12 million shillings each, a blanket purchase for the supply of lab reagents for cholera, and 6 days later, a standard order for the supply of chlorine powder. In addition, a 4 billion shilling contract for hand sanitizer between the Health Ministry's Preventative and Promotive Health Department and Tira South Shore was approved as a blanket purchase agreement in April 2015. The following month, a standard purchase order was generated for the same amount but without a description of services. This transaction is marked in the system as incomplete. A third transaction, this one for 0 shillings, was generated 10 days later by the same procurement employee using the original order description, quote, "Please supply hand sanitizers 500 ml as per contract," end quote. We were unable to confirm whether the 4 billion shillings was paid by the ministry. The leaked data doesn't include payment disbursement details, and the MOH has not responded to requests for information. Here's what Abigail Mukeli, a co-owner of Tira South Shore, had to say about the transaction.
And I assure you there's no 4 billion, not even 1 billion, not even 10 million that I have ever done, that has ever gone through Tira's account.
Okay.
Tira's bank account.
Mukeli also claimed that Tira South Shore, a company she is listed on as a director, has never received any contract for the supply of hand sanitizer. But data from Kenya's public procurement system, IFMIS, says something else. But how is Tira South Shore linked to Rachel Nyamai? Follow this web closely. Abigail Mukeli, the co-owner of Tira South Shore and Amaken Mine West, is Rachel Nyamai's niece, according to local sources and social media investigations. In a telephone interview, she denied this link.
What is your relationship to the MP for Kitui South, Rachel Nyamai?
Relationship?
Yes.
We are not related.
You're not related at all?
Yes.
Mukeli's mother, Domitila Nduku Mwinde, is Nyamai's elder sister. She co-owns ISFA Consultants Company Limited, which shares a PO box with Tira South Shore and Mematira Holdings Limited. Documents also show that a company called ISFA Consultants, a nearly identical name to the company Nyamai's sister co-owns, was originally registered to the MP, who was listed as a beneficial owner. Also, Mematira Holdings, which was opened in 2018, is co-owned by Nyamai's husband, Titus Mavui Ngumu, and their daughter. It is currently the majority shareholder of Amaken Mine West. Mukeli says the companies are health consultants, but in addition to winning contracts to procure medical supplies, Tira and Amaken also have active mining licenses in Kitui County, specifically in Nyamai's hometown. Amaken also dabbles in roadworks and transports liquefied petroleum gas. It is unclear how these companies can qualify for contracts in so many industries, but they do follow a pattern. The leaked data reveals many companies winning public tenders don't actually produce anything. They're just middlemen for procurement and opportunities for corruption. Nyamai did not respond to our questions.